The sky had not cried in 100 years. No rain, no clouds, no storm, just an endless, merciless blue stretched over a world that had forgotten how to look up. And one man believed water was coming to drown it all. His neighbors laughed at him. His own family whispered behind his back. For decades, some say over a century, he hammered wood in the middle of dry land, building a vessel the size of a small city for a flood no one else could see. They called him insane. God called him righteous. What if the thing everyone mocks you for is the very thing that will save your life? Stay with us. Because what happened next didn't just end the world as it was known, it began everything after. This is the story of Noah. One sentence holds the whole of it. When the world forgets God, one faithful heart can still be enough. Asterisk asterisk picture the earth, generations after Eden. The garden is a memory, its gates long closed, its cherubim still guarding a way back that no one seeks anymore. Cities have risen. Bronze glints in marketplaces. Music drifts through torchlit streets. And beneath the noise something has rotted. Scripture does not soften it. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5, not occasionally evil, not mostly good with flaws, only evil, fills the land like floodwater already rising before the rain ever falls. Every whispered plot, every act of cruelty, every silent cry ignored, it reaches heaven. And God, who spoke light into darkness, who breathed life into dust, looks at what humanity has become of that gift. Asterisk, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. Genesis 6:6, let that sit with you for a moment. Not rage first, grief first. The Creator's heart breaks before his judgment falls, sorrow before storm. But in the middle of that darkness, one name breaks through like a single lamp in a blackened city. Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Genesis 6:8, he is not perfect, he is not sinless, but he is different. Scripture says he walked with God, the same phrase once used for Enoch, a man who never saw death at all. In a world sprinting toward its own destruction, Noah is walking, slowly, faithfully, in step with a God everyone else has stopped listening to. And then on an ordinary day, heaven speaks. I have determined to make an end of all flesh. I am about to destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Genesis 6:13-14. Imagine standing in Noah's place. No rain has ever fallen on the earth. Some traditions say mist watered the ground, not storms. God is asking him to build a massive ship, 3 stories tall, longer than a football field, for a weather event that has never once happened. There is no proof. Only a promise. Would you obey a command that makes no sense to anyone but you? Noah says nothing recorded in protest. He simply begins to build, asterisk asterisk he heard. He believed. He built, asterisk asterisk years pass. The hammer never stops. Picture him now, hands calloused, beard graying, sweat mixing with sawdust as gopher wood is shaped, pitched inside and out, board by board, into something the world has never seen. His sons work beside him, Shem, Ham, Japheth. Their wives carry water. Neighbors gather at the edges of the property not to help but to stare. Why build a boat, they ask, when there's no sea for 100 miles? Noah keeps building. The New Testament later calls him a herald of righteousness, 2 Peter 2:5, meaning this wasn't silent obedience. He warned them, he pleaded, and for over a century not one person listened. Can you imagine the loneliness of being right when everyone around you is certain you're wrong? This is faith's hardest test, not the danger of the storm, but the asterisk silence before it. The years where nothing seems to be happening, where obedience looks like foolishness to everyone watching, alone, unshaken, building. At last, the wood stops echoing. The great vessel stands finished, a monument of faith more massive than any temple in the land, and yet built for a purpose no one else can see. Then comes the command that must have staggered even Noah. Go into the ark, you and all your household. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, to keep their offspring alive. Genesis 7:1-3, picture the scene: animals emerging from forests and hills and burrows in a procession too orderly to be coincidence. Lions beside lambs, doves beside ravens. Every kind drawn by an instinct older than fear, walking calmly up the ramp into the dark belly of the ark. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Genesis 7:16. Read that last line again. The Lord shut him in, not Noah, not his sons. God himself closes the door. The time for decision is over. The time for mercy toward this generation has ended. Somewhere on the other side of that sealed door, life as the world knew it is already finished, and no one outside knows it yet sealed. Chosen. Silent. If this story moves you, like, share, and subscribe to The Sacred Mind and walk with us through the greatest stories ever told. Asterisk 7 days of silence. 7 days of waiting inside wood and pitch while the sky above stays cruelly, mockingly clear. Then a sound no living person has ever heard. Asterisk on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened. Genesis 7:11. Not gentle rain. The ancient text paints something apocalyptic, the ocean floor itself erupting, underground rivers exploding upward, and the sky finally breaking open above a world that had grown deaf to warning. And rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Genesis 7:12. Inside the ark, darkness. The groan of timber under the weight of an ocean being born. Animals crying out in the black. A family huddled together, listening to the end of the world happen just beyond a few inches of pitch-sealed wood. This is the moment to ask yourself something honest. When the storms of your own life rise, is your foundation something that can actually hold? Outside, water climbs mountains. Every home, every city, every laugh and cruelty and quiet unnoticed kindness swallowed. The Bible states it with terrible simplicity, and all flesh died that moved on the earth. He blotted out every living thing. Only Noah was left and those who were with him in the ark. Genesis 7:21-23. Notice what the narration does not do. It does not describe screams. It does not linger on suffering. Scripture pulls back with a kind of sacred restraint, because this is not a story meant to be savored but mourned. The world wept. God wept first. For 150 days, the ark rides an ocean with no shore. Imagine that stretch of time, no news, no certainty. Only the creak of wood and the rhythm of waves against a hull holding everything left of humanity and creation. Did Noah doubt in the dark? Scripture doesn't say. But faith, real faith, is not the absence of fear, it's staying obedient inside it then. A detail almost too tender to be accidental, but God remembered Noah. Genesis 8:1. Not God noticed. Remembered, the same word used later when God remembers his covenant, his people, his promises. Even in the deepest silence, when it feels like heaven has forgotten you, this story insists otherwise. Here the narration must pause and name what's really happening. God's hand has not spoken once during the flood itself, no voice thundering from the clouds, no visible miracle mid-storm. His presence is hidden in the waiting, in the wind that begins to blow, in the timing only he could orchestrate. Faith often looks like this, not fireworks but faithfulness in the quiet. A wind sweeps over the earth. The waters begin slowly to recede, waiting, trusting. Remembered, Noah sends out a raven first. It simply flies back and forth, finding nowhere to land. Then he releases a dove. She returns with nothing. 7 days later he tries again. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Genesis 8:11. Picture that small, damp leaf in the dim light of the ark, the first sign of green the world has seen in nearly a year. No thunder. No angel, just a leaf in a bird's beak. This is how God so often speaks, not in the storm, but in the small, quiet proof that life is returning. 7 more days pass. Noah releases the dove a final time. She does not come back. There was finally somewhere else to be. Have you ever waited so long for hope that even a small sign felt like everything? A leaf. A sign. Enough. At last the command comes. Go out from the ark. Genesis 8:16. Imagine that first step onto solid, muddy, glorious earth after over a year confined to wood and water and darkness. The air smells different. The light is blinding. Every sound, birdsong, wind, the shift of grass, is new again because the old world is gone and this one is just being born. Noah's first act is not to build a home. It is not to plant a field. It is worship. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Genesis 8:20, before shelter, before survival, before anything else, gratitude. And God responds not with more judgment but with a promise that echoes through every generation since. I will never again curse the ground because of man. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Genesis 8:21-22. Then comes the sign that still arcs across every sky on earth today. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Genesis 9:13. The rainbow, not a decoration, but a divine signature. A promise written in light, stretched across the very sky that once broke the world apart. Judgment ended. Mercy began. Promise remains. What can this ancient story still say to a life like yours? First, faithfulness often looks foolish before it looks victorious. Noah built for over 100 years with no evidence, no applause, no proof except the voice he trusted. What is God asking you to build in a season when no one else understands why? Second, grace doesn't mean untouched by the storm. It means carried through it. Noah wasn't spared the flood. He was kept safe inside it. Sometimes God's deliverance isn't removing the storm from your life. It's building you an ark to survive it. Third, God's hand is often hidden, not absent. Through the flood, through the waiting, through 150 silent days, he was never named aloud, yet he was never gone. Learn to see him in the wind that shifts, the leaf that appears, the door that quietly opens. Fourth, after every flood there is an altar. Noah's first act on new ground was worship, not comfort. What would it look like for gratitude to be your first response, not your last? And here the story leans forward into something greater still. Just as Noah's ark became the one path of salvation through judgment and into new life, so too the New Testament calls Jesus himself a kind of ark, the one door through which anyone can pass from death into life. Peter writes that the flood waters even correspond to baptism, which now saves you. 1 Peter 3:21. Water once meant for judgment, transformed into water of new beginning. The ark had one door. Christ said, I am the door. Both point to the same truth. Salvation is never something we build alone. It is something we are invited into. So here is the challenge for you today, wherever you're watching from. The floodwaters of this world haven't stopped rising. Chaos, noise, despair, wickedness dressed as normal. The question was never whether the storm would come. The question has always been, will you be found walking with God when it does? If this journey stirred your heart, follow the sacred mind, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe so these stories of faith and courage continue to reach the world. Asterisk, the rain has stopped. The rainbow still stands, and the invitation still remains.